Hi guys, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and last week I was sick, so I didn't film, but I liked last week's Top 5 Wednesday topic, so I'm going to do that now. As always, the Goodreads group is in the description below if you want to check them out. And the topic is favorite books outside your comfort zone. So I have really been trying to push myself outside science fiction and fantasy recently. I mean, I'm still reading science fiction and fantasy, but I'm trying to mix it up a bit. Read one book that is, another book that isn't, shake it up. And some of the books that I've pushed myself to read have, well, not actually been that great, and there's a reason why I don't read those genres. But there have been a few that really did surprise me and I super enjoyed, and so here they are in this list for you guys. So the first book on my list is Security by Gina Wohlsdorf. Ta-da! This is a slasher novel that takes place at the Manderley Resort, and I didn't think it was, for some reason, I thought it was going to be like a murder mystery, so I went into this book not expecting it to be a slasher novel, so that kind of threw me off, and there's so much gore, and the deaths are very descriptive, and I do not like those, and it's kind of horror books that I try to avoid. But this one's pretty well done. I liked the characters of Tessa and Brian. I think that was his name. And yeah, I only gave it 3 stars, hence why it's first on this list. The next book I have is Alexander Hamilton by Chernow. This is the biography that inspired the musical Hamilton, which I love, and is the entire reason why I read the book. So in Chernow's biography, it's very well written and balances the political war aspect type things that I normally do not care about and would not read a biography about somebody who was part of the American Revolution because of. But he balances all that stuff really well with Alexander Hamilton's personal life and making Hamilton seem much more relatable. Like, I love Alexander Hamilton flirting with like every woman he comes in contact with. That's fun to watch, read, whatever. This whole tension building between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr that ultimately leads to Hamilton's death, but like to see that building up, that became like, it was so vividly described, and it was pretty good. There was never a point where I even became interested in the political stuff and like why Hamilton tried to do things the way he did them, with setting up like the U.S. Treasury Department and stuff, and how we got the Coast Guard was really surprising too. So definitely one of my favorite biographies, and this isn't something that I would have just picked up if it wasn't for the musical. Next on the list, I have High Rise by J.G. Ballard. This is a dystopian type novel. It's set in a high rise in the 1970s, and it's kind of stuff that is similar to what I would read in like a science fiction dystopian novel in the future, where the society kind of collapses. So it's not terribly different, but it is pretty gory and descriptive about like how exactly society breaks down and how awful the people become. I actually kind of liked the ride, even though I wanted to throw up at multiple points during that book. A lot of animal cruelty, which is not my thing, also. It wasn't that bad. It still managed to get, I gave it 4 stars for a book that I wanted to throw up in the middle of. I think it's pretty good. So the next book I have is Kindred by Octavia Butler, and our main character, Dana, goes back in time from the 1970s to the slaveholding South. She's an African-American woman who gets stuck on a plantation, and the description of life on the plantation is very, very vivid, and I would normally try to avoid any kind of vivid descriptions of anything that uncomfortable. Like, I actively try to avoid books about slave owning in the South and the Holocaust in World War II. Like, those are my 2 biggest, like, don't want to touch them things. Like, so I wouldn't normally enjoy a book where we get to see all the atrocities that happen on a southern plantation. But Dana's character and her modern view of this and her fight for survival really humanized it, and I did really enjoy this book. Totally, that one also still got 4 stars. And the last book on my list is A Long Way Gone by Ishmael. This is his memoir of growing up in Sierra Leone. He gets roped into being a soldier at like 13 or something, and gets handed a gun and gets forced to just like kill people and commit really awful acts. And how the way he describes it and what was going on for him and for the other boys who are also in the army. It's complicated. It's not an easy book to read, but I still really liked this book. And it's been a while since I read it, but I still like remember what was going on, some of it. I don't know, it's kind of shocking that this is a true story and this is something that actually happens to kids in today's world. This isn't something that happened like 100 years ago. Like, this is what is currently going on in Africa. And I would normally, avoid, like, I don't like uncomfortable books where people suffer for real. So I surprisingly liked this book. This isn't an easy book. Like, it's not like, oh my goodness, I love everything that goes on in here. He does get rescued and like taken out of the situation. UNICEF comes in and he has this life afterwards, like outside the army, where he kind of gets to reconcile what happened in his childhood. And it's not completely hopeless, but it's still not a book that it's not my typical read. I like happy endings, I really do. So there are the favorite books I've read that have been outside my comfort zone. Let me know what yours are, if you've read any of these books, if you really enjoy them also. Yeah. Peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.